Rick, why have you not put anything out for a while then, music-wise? Is it studio time? Is it anything else? Do you just
That's a
time?
good
What's going on?
question. That's a good question. I spent the last 4 years like really running hard. So maybe 3 or 4 songs a year. And it might not sound like much, but that's 3 or 4 campaigns we're talking about.
Break it down
16.
for us. So how much is it to like get studio time, get a beat, get a producer, to have it mastered? Like take us through like a step-by-step campaign.
Oh, so it all adds up. Thankfully, I got some really good advice earlier on, and I started using some of the money that I was making from sort of professional session musician into buying gear. So buying sound cards, buying laptops, buying monitors, buying microphones, and being able to have my own studio set up at home. Granted, it doesn't look like a studio, but the quality that it is
Output.
yeah. But it can get really expensive. So studios start from like £20 an hour, and you think, how long do you put on a song? How long can a song actually take? And you can start racking up silly money. And we're talking about £20 for like just a standard studio. If you want to go into some of them big boys that you see on TV, and it's got the desk that has
the fucking Dre
like,
studio.
right? Exactly. You're
The
talking
size of
about
my house where he's got
you're
like
talking
100
about-
different things to press.
You're talking about £5 grand.
Yeah, the fucking
right,
for those of
literally.
you- Well, like people
Timberland,
who
man, is like-
listening to this on audio now. I'm really sorry, but you can't see this hand demonstration. It's where they got all those knobs and they just get their fingers all over and just push them.
And then there's
I'm like,
this.
yeah, and I'm like, what do those knobs do, man? Tell me, like, I want to know.
This is what I'm saying. So those you're looking at like crazy money, like 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand a session.
Damn.
Is that an
So,
hour?
but
or a
just
session,
from
like
an-
a 4-hour block or something?
It will depend. It will all depend on the studio you're using, the relationships that you might have with whoever runs the studio, if the label has relationships with the studio. But just for a normal artist, if you're looking to make a tune, you're easily gonna rack up about 3 grand. Easily. So in
What?
production costs, in studio time, in the design of artwork, in uploading your music, in running the campaigns, like it's in mixing and mastering, like
Yeah.
it's a big output, and you really have to love it if you want to do this like seriously and over a long period of time, because there are very little returns in the sense of you outlay so much. But yeah, so like I was saying, that's four campaigns in a year, which can get quite taxing, on top of doing all the things outside of it. So maybe doing your sort of radio promo and going to maybe 6 or 7 radio stations every time a single comes out, shooting videos, press, all of that is built in a campaign. So I spent 4 years just doing that and running as hard as I can. And when COVID hit, and it's mad when I say this to people, but I really see it as a blessing. It just enabled me to stop and think and reflect for a very long time, and just reconfigure what I wanted from this all and what I was going to do next. So one of the reasons why I haven't put out music, because I want to be a little bit more intentional with what comes next. I have got loads of ideas, so the ideas don't stop. My studio is literally just right next to me there, so the ideas don't stop. I'm always putting things down. I always get feature requests. Some things I decline, some things I jump on, so there's always stuff out there. Just in terms of, for me, I just wanted to and I'm getting older, and I'm a dad of 2, so I just wanted to go back to that little boy that was excited about making music and producing this feeling for other people. And that's why I haven't put music out. It's okay, how can I get back to making music that elicits that feeling that I got when I was 9, 10, 15, 16.
Same buzz.
Same buzz. And so I'm just allowing myself to create, like, again, without no agenda. And so I haven't put anything out for that reason. Not for not wanting and trying, because I've got demos just sat there, but I want it to be, right. I feel like this is like my whatever comes now in terms of project wise is my statement piece. This is what defines me. So like when I die, everyone will look back and be like, see when
This
Rick
is what his
put
music
that out.
represented.
Yeah. Everything else outside of that is great, but this next thing for me is like, okay,
Legacy.
I'm at the 100%. I'm at the age where it needs to, and whatever comes after that is great. But this, what comes now, needs to define me.
That's incredible, man. So
It's powerful.
I guess it all makes sense when I start to weigh it up. I guess with trying to find a guy to master it. Do you have like a certain guy you go to? Is there someone who you go to like on the regular to sort everything out for you, or is it all mismatch?
A good trick or a good
is to go on Fiverr and find yourself a guy who will master it for cheap.
there is that trial and error.
Must speak English.
Trial and error. But I use this really good bit of software. It's online. It's called landar.com, and it does mastering for you. So you upload your song, and it does like a digital master. And when I tell people that, some people, they're like, there's no way. They'll listen to a master and be like, you've got someone to do that, haven't you? Who mastered it? And I'll tell them. And that's the beauty of technology. Just like we were talking about OnlyFans and Patreon, is technology has, the advancement in technology has gone so far that there's not much that we don't have access to anymore at a very reduced rate. So being able to have a machine, just algorithms, look at a waveform and make it right is it's almost like science fiction, but we have the access to those tools now. So I use that for my mastering. In terms of mixing, I spent years on YouTube learning how to mix. I mix all my stuff now. Yeah, I got to a point where what I heard wasn't, I could never describe what I was hearing in my head and what I wanted. And so I would go to get mixed, and it would come back, and sonically it was right. It meets the brief, but that feeling that I'm looking for just wasn't there. And it just got too frustrating to say, well, maybe you need to turn up this harmony, or actually turn down the guitar, and I couldn't tell you what it was, but I could feel it. And so I just spent years and years trial and error. So the first project that I mixed sounds like a bag of garbage now, but it got better over time. So now I understand my sound. I know what I'm going for, and I taught myself how to mix. So I do all my mixing. And then, like I said, I use landar.com for the master.
And with beats, how do you find the beats?
So beats is a bit of a duality thing. So relationships, 100%, you have to grow relationships in this industry with producers who are willing to work with you at the level that you are. And that might mean you end up getting services for free. I'm not advocating for that, because everybody should be paid for their skill and their time and their services. However, there is a big thing to be said for working laterally and building together and understanding where you are, and having an agreement that says, if for any reason this changes, I'm going to remunerate you, and that be from an honest place. So I've built loads of relationships with producers now that have credits that are crazy, but I can call them and say, look, this is what I'm working on. You know where I am. I might not be able to give you your fee, but let's work something out on the back end. So if the song does blow, from a publishing point of view, you're covered. That's the two things: is relationships and do good business. Always do good business when it comes to music, and allowing payment to be made somewhere else. Because independent artists, we don't have capital. We don't have 20 grand sitting there to say, oh, here, Mr. Producer, here's $5,000 for your fee. That doesn't exist. But what you can do is structure your agreements to say, if any reason this song goes, actually, here's 50% of the publishing. So what most people don't know is producers, they get 50% of every song. If they've produced it, it's 50% because that's classed as writing. Yeah, that portion, the instrumental is almost like it's written. It's part of the song. So they get 50%, and then the other 50% is then delegated to anyone who's actually written. So producers, like I said, do good business, because if the song goes, then instantly they're happy. And then obviously if you want to, on top of that, pay them their fee, then you absolutely can. But so there's relationships, I say, and then like the internet, being able to just go on to a beat store and go through a catalogue of millions of songs, and finding one that suits you. So it's a bit of both for me. It's a bit of both. So sometimes I have the time to sit down and go through like a catalogue of producers on one of those beat stores and pick things that feel like me or my style. Yeah. And then there's other times where I've worked with producers over the years and they know me, so they know what to send me. Or there's other times when I go in and we just create afresh. So for me, it's a mixture. I think in the climate that we are in, it's just a mixture. I think every artist has their way, but there's just so many avenues of being able to make it happen.